Hello, everybody. How do you do today? Welcome to Physics of Creation. I'm Steve Locse. I welcome also Stewart Swerdlow again. Nice to meet you and to be
Good to see
again.
you. Thank you, Isvan.
How are you? Long time again. Not
Yeah,
seen.
it's been very busy,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Well, today we will talk about Illuminati history. How did they come to exist? And it seems to be that the history goes back really, really far, far in time.
Yes, right.
Well, go ahead. Let's say.
And previously, I spoke about the wars between the reptilians and the Lyrians and the Draco, yes. And coming to this world, we've already examined that. And then we spoke, I believe, about the Sumerian Empire and how it changed into Babylonia, Mesopotamia, and then finally to the Khazars in the Caucasus Mountains of what is now Russia. And in the 800s AD, the Khazars went west into Europe and confronted the people that were there. Previous to that, I believe I may have spoken about the descendants of Mary Magdalene and Christ coming to south of France, and they had an empire there. And so when the Khazars came to Western Europe and connected or confronted with the Magdalene descendants, there was wars, etc. And so in order to create peace, the head of the Khazar invaders, who was the King Merovi, married, or his children married the descendants of Mary Magdalene to create Merovingian family, which was the first Illuminati family. And they call themselves Illuminati because it means the ones who are enlightened. Their opinion of themselves, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And so
when can we place this event? I mean, in time.
It was approximately 850, 860 AD.
All right.
Yes. And this was also the time, shortly thereafter, well, around that time, when Charlemagne, the first Roman Catholic emperor, if you will, wanted to spread Christianity into Europe. And by the way, that's what created the Vikings, because when Charlemagne came to what is now the border of Denmark, the Scandinavian people refused to let his armies in, and they created a line which now still exists as the Danish-German border. And that's when the Vikings started to raid or attack Europe to stop this invasion of Christianity. Anyway, so the Merovingian family, over time, went into different countries and broke into 13 different branches, really of the same family, but broke into different branches. And we know them now as the 13 Illuminati families.
Who still are the descendants of those first 13 families, the same lineage.
Correct. And because they were descendant also from Mary Magdalene, they claim that they are descendant of Christ, and therefore they have a right to rule the world. Their perspective. See?
Uh-huh.
And so they created, it's a very long story, they created the Templar order in order to create the Crusades, to take back the Holy Land from the Muslims. And isn't it interesting that now, 1,000 years later, we are doing the same thing?
Yeah.
What has changed?
Yeah, really nothing.
It's the same.
So the Templars after that, went with the motive that they will watch out for the roots of the pilgrims, right? So they will.
That's the
guard,
official story.
yes.
That's the official story. And
But actually,
I just did a very big lecture on the island of Nevis in the Caribbean, where I went into very deep ancient history of Templars. And it goes back actually to the Essenes in Jerusalem.
Right.
And when when the Jews revolted in 70 AD against the Romans were so insulted that they said they would kill all of those who revolted. So the Essenes fled. They went to different parts. Some went to Scandinavia and became the priests of the Vikings. Then some of them moved to the island of Bornholm, which is in the Baltic Sea between Sweden and Denmark and Germany. Bornholm. And from there, they moved to France, to the area of Citeaux. Citeaux is east of Paris. And there they created what's called Cistercian monks. Cistercian monks. Yeah. Which means, Cistercian means the people from Citeaux. And in French, Citeaux means reeds. R-E-E-D-S, reeds, where you like grows in a swamp. And they create
R-E-E-D-S.
Yes, reeds. And they lived in a country that was called the Champagne, mm-hmm. and Burgundy was separate country, was not France, and was separate country. And it was these monks who influenced Rome, the popes, to create an army to fight the Muslims. But let me explain. They had information from the time of Essene that they had carried with them for all the centuries. And they knew what was underneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
All right.
And so they specifically created this crusade as a cover to get this information.
What did they found there?
Okay. So they found there many things, especially the true history written in documents of that Christ was married to Mary Magdalene. They had children. There are descendants, and that their symbol is a hooked X. So it looks like an X with a hook.
Yeah.
That means Jesus, Mary, children. This was their secret symbol. And on all the Templar documents, you see this hooked X.
Oh.
All on these documents. And so they wanted to get the artifacts from under the Temple Mount. And they sent 9 knights, and they knew exactly where to go. And they spent 9 years, digging. They were not protecting anyone. They hired other people to protect, and then they were digging. And they found information that the Vatican was very upset about, because if the people knew this information, it would be the end of Catholicism.
Freedom for people.
Yeah, so that's why the Templars got so rich, because they blackmailed the church. They said, well, we have this, you will show everybody.
But wasn't that the Templars actually gave away all their the castles, all what they had? I mean, money, gold, their own castles, their own properties, gave it to the church in order to become Templar knights.
Towards the end, when they knew the church was going to sabotage them, they gave these castles. They had banks, hotels, hospitals. They gave to others to
not to the church.
Take care. Not exactly to the church, because the church confiscated. Not they didn't give. The church took it. It was King Philip IV of France. He was known as Philip the Fair, who was very jealous of the Templars. He owed them a lot of money, and he couldn't pay them. And so he killed them instead, or tried to. But in the city of New Rochelle, coast of France, before this happened, on Friday the 13th, 1307. Rochelle. They took their documents, the Templar, and they left. Some went to Scotland. Some went to Portugal. Portugal king allowed them sanctuary, but changed their name. They became the Knights of Christ. No more Templar. They became Knights of Christ instead. Some came to North America. And there's a very famous tower in Rhode Island that was here before Columbus time, that nobody knows who built it, but is designed like Templar Tower. Wow. Yeah, it's in Toro, Rhode Island. So yes, there's many artifacts.
When do they become, or maybe you will talk about this, when will they become the Freemasons, or what is the connection?
That happened in Scotland when the Sinclair family needed the Templar army to fight the English, you see, for independence in Scotland. And so the Prince Sinclair built a cathedral, Roslin Chapel, and the knights still hiding artifacts underneath, in the tunnels underneath. And the people who built this chapel were masons who worked for the Templars, and they became known as the Freemasons, because they were not from a union that was under other control. They were free under the Templar control, so they call them Freemason. Scottish Rite.
Yeah,
and that's where it comes from.
And the connection with, maybe it's a different story, but to make an idea, the Malta Knights. What is this connection come from?
Yeah, this is a very interesting connection, because some of the knights who were in the island of Rhodes in Greece were attacked by the Muslims and lost their fortress, and they went to the island of Malta to create a new fortress, and they became known as the Knights of Malta there. But unfortunately, they were occupied by Napoleon eventually, and lost their titles. And what we see now in Malta is not the original. It's something different, using the same name, but not the original order.
So and do they have something to do with Freemasons or Illuminati?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. And they are more controlled by Illuminati. Mind you, that the Templars' original order was not controlled by Illuminati. It was controlled by Cistercian monks, who were originally Essene. scenes. So it was different.
All right, and when comes that the Templars, let's say, or let's say Freemasons become Illuminati? Is with Adam Weishaupt or before?
It was actually before Adam Weishaupt. Actually, in 1776, his job was to make the Illuminati organization public knowledge. Before then, they were basically secret behind the scenes, and now they wanted people to know who they were. And so his job was to create public knowledge. But here's the interesting thing about Adam Weishaupt. If you take his picture, his portrait, next to portrait of George Washington, is the same. They're identical. So there are some historians who ask, are they the same person?
Wow.
Was George Washington really Adam Weishaupt?
Wow.
And that's why they have on the back of the US dollar, the Illuminati symbol, a pyramid with the eye, and so on. So this is a very big question.
But actually, as the official story is saying that Adam Weishaupt was introduced by Amos Rothschild, actually, to the local Freemason lodge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and Adam Weishaupt changed something in the laws of this Freemasonry, and became Luciferian.
Yes, I'll explain. The original Scottish Masons were part of Templar belief system and so on. As this group spread into England and to the continent, the Rothschild family infiltrated and changed this group in Europe. So that's why they used Adam Weishaupt to make the Illuminati more acceptable to the public and so on. And it's a very complicated story that involves the Rothschild agenda for global control, which still exists to this day. Except now, there's a lot of fighting within the Illuminati, particularly with the Windsor, Romanov, and Rothschild family.
All right. Okay. Yeah. When comes at sight, actually, Albert Pike's plans, let's see.
Yeah. Well, Albert Pike,
was a member of the Scottish Rite.
Yes. But he was fascinated with this Mazzini in Italy, who was quite a revolutionary. And actually, it was because of Mazzini that Italy in 1870 was unified as one country instead of the various provinces that were independent. But he didn't do that because he felt a national need. He did that so he would have more power, so that the Illuminati, instead of having several independent states, have one big one that they can control, see? And that's why to this day, Istvan, that Italy, they all hate each other. The Sicilians hate the Lombardy, the Sardinia hates the mainland. They all against each other to this day. So, and it's like that in many countries that were artificially unified, even like Germany, even like France, which was many different countries, and where you live in Spain, Catalan, is the same. These are artificially occupied by the more powerful armies, and so there's no unification really in Europe energetically. It's just artificial,
What about that famous letter sent?
Yeah. Well, of course, many say never existed. And there is rumors that it was in a British Museum for a while and then disappeared. But the letter has been quoted many, many times, especially to create the First World War, which actually they wanted to create communism. Now, I have a historical part in this with my family because one of my great uncles, Benjamin Sverdlov, was sent from Russia to United States to convince the U.S. president to send money, $20 million at the time, which then was a lot, to start to finance the revolution. And they did it. And it was sent through Britain and Switzerland, and then to what became Soviet Union. So yes, I know that this is true because it happened. And the letter wanted to eliminate Christianity in the way it was in the current form. They wanted a communism, no more class system in Europe except for the elite. And they wanted to control governments, basically. So that was what the letter was about. And of course, if you are Illuminati and you know that this letter exists, especially was in a museum, you would take it away and hide it. You would not let that out. So my belief is, yes, Pike wrote this letter to Mazzini, and it became the basis for World War I and the Russian Revolution. And the history confirms all of this.
And there is more, actually. The letter tells about how to destroy later the communism and to put instead socialism, to create the Second World War, for example, to create, before the Second World War, to create the big U.S. Depression, in 1939, if I remember well. And then the Second World War, then to create socialism, then destroy socialism to create democracy, but the false one, of course, and then to create again a crisis, but this time very, of course, economic crisis, but now globally, right? And then, little by little, as we know, also Kissinger is talking about this, how to do that.
And the George Soros.
Of course.
Yes.
We know today that George Soros is very, very hooked into this European Union lawmaking system, let's say, and forcing different countries to fulfill some of expectations.
But isn't it interesting that his own country rejects it?
Yeah, not all countries.
But his own country.
His own country, yes. Excuse me. Yeah, but there are 4 countries that actually rejects it, which is
Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, and
Slovakia.
Yeah. And good for them.
Yeah, actually.
Well, and that's why it's fun that there is a movement in Eastern Europe now for Slavic people to unite under one union away from EU, and so I see this also happening, especially in Poland.
Well, let's see. So we got that Albert Pike started an agenda, actually, how to build a new world order. Excuse me.
Yeah.
New world order.
Yeah.
So we already can see that 2 world wars were done. They are actually succeeding it.
Yes. Here's what they wanted to show. they wanted to show the people that democracy doesn't work, communism doesn't work, the fascism doesn't work, only social dictatorship works. So they're trying to prove by creating these governments and failing them that now is a better solution, the dictatorship, socialism. And so that's where we are now.
Actually, totalitarianism.
Yes, and to emphasize it, they create a Muslim threat in Central Asia, Middle East, and now into Europe, just like Crusade time, just like when the Moors invaded also. They recreate the same thing to show that there's only one solution now. Look what happened in history. Everything failed. Now we give you the solution, and the people must accept it. That's where we are now.
Actually, what your friend also, David Icke, said that this is a strategy named problem, reaction, solution.
Yes, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of the agendas is to break up the United States so it is no longer a world power. And that's happening now. It's very scary to be here.
And also at the beginning, the European Union had a very nice philosophy, let's say. But today it seems that this philosophy changed and is not the same. Already in television and already, in Hungary at least, they are talking about this topic that the European Union is not anymore what it was at the beginning.
It's true. It is also dictatorship. Europeans don't realize that in Strasbourg, the people who make the laws are not elected. They are appointed by others. So that's the dictatorship.
Of course. Let's go further. Who would be today's most known Illuminati family?
Probably the royal family of Britain, I would say. They're in the news every day. Now at this royal wedding, which is interesting because this Meghan Markle is American and biracial. So very interesting that that's happening. And you will notice when Prince Harry is with her, in his suit, he puts his fingers, I don't know if you can see the three fingers here.
Higher.
He puts like this. It's an M, Magdalene lineage. He's saying he knows this is Magdalene lineage.
Wow.
That's why she was chosen, not because of anything else. They don't pick who they marry. They are chosen for them.
All right.
You see? So always he's like this. Interestingly, when he stood, when he stands next to Melania, he used the devil sign.
Oh.
Interesting.
But this sign, this symbol, it's not exactly the devil symbol.
They use this. It's the horn god. That's what it means.
But this came also from other symbolism. Anciently.
But the Illuminati used that for the devil, sign of the devil.
Oh.
Yeah. And you will see George Bush used it, Clinton used it, they all use it. But what's so fascinating was that he used this one, the M, but he makes this way, M. Right. Yeah.
Okay, there is the royal family. Who more?
Well, they're the biggest ones, of course, now we must keep our eyes on Romanov in Russia. Because I have, of course, with my connections, I've been told recently, for the first time, there is a union of Romanov family, Russian Orthodox Church, and KGB.
Wow.
First time ever, because they were all enemies before. Now they are unifying because the Romanov family wants to take over from Rothschild and Windsor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why Putin said Russia will extend from Moscow to Lisbon.
This is a surprise.
Yes. No, he said this a few months ago. He said all the way to Portugal. Mm-hmm.
So Putin is on part of who? Whose side?
Romanov. He's a Romanov. Yeah. And a few years ago, I was working in Russia. And you know, the Russian flag changed to be the blue, red, and white colors. But that was the first time I saw in Russia the Romanov symbol, the two-headed creature on the Russian flag. Oh. Right there on the flag. Indicates Romanov now back in charge of Russia. And last May, during the May Day celebration in Russia, in Novosibirsk and in other cities, first time in 30 years, Soviet flags flying, red with the hammer and sickle. First time.
All right.
So, indication, new Soviet Union coming. Already here, my opinion.
Oh. So not good neither.
They are the ones, listen, they are the ones who are encouraging Catalan independence. Yeah. They are the ones encouraging Slavic union. They want to break up EU. They want to destroy EU. Yeah.
Who more? Rothschild, Rockefeller?
Well, Rockefeller more is a committee of 300. The three major ones, Windsor, Romanov, Rothschild, a little bit Sinclair is coming into power, a bit Habsburg. Spain is controlled by Habsburg family, and so on. So, but the three, Windsor, Romanov, and Rothschild, those are the main ones right now.
All right. And what about the Agenda 21?
Yeah. Well, there's two kinds. There's the official version, which the United Nations created in 1992, which was called Sustainable Development in the 21st century. Controlled growth, controlled economy, and so on. But the unofficial version is what they call a depopulation of the world by the year 2030, which I don't believe this one to be true. Instead, they are going to redistribute population and look to colonize other worlds. And this is why every day again on the news, they tell you we need to go to Mars, we need to go to Jupiter and Saturn, we need to have colonies there. So they're going to take the population and move them, colonize outside.
Are there already people on Mars?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I am sure that somebody will ask about that. What would say Stewart on that?
And I will tell you that both in the moon and Mars, the ones who are allowed to be there are only blonde hair, blue-eyed people, and so on, wow. Because they are the most controllable.
Wow.
They don't allow darker-skinned people off the world. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only because DNA of white people have an enzyme that allows more programming.
All right.
Darker skinned people don't have this so much enzyme.
Now that we are talking about this, because before someone asked that, what would you say about the blood? I mean, that actually there are rumors through the internet that maybe draconians or reptilians are abducting people and looking for the blood system. I mean, the Rh negative or Rh positive, and what is truth about that? I don't know if you know something.
They already know who has what. I mean, it's not an investigation. They already know. It's also, in the last 10, 12 years that they don't tell anybody their blood type anymore. It used to be when you went for blood test, they would say you're this type, this type. Now they don't tell you. And if you ask, they say you don't need to know that. It's a secret. They are also creating an artificial blood which self-replicates, so that you get a blood transfusion and it takes over your blood, replaces your blood.
Oh.
So that ultimately all the world has same blood type.
Oh.
Ultimately. Yeah. So
that would take time.
Yeah, but when they start making laws like you must have a vaccine, you must have the medication, in these vaccines, in these medications, is the instructions for the blood to change.
Oh.
So it could be very fast, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. It's a very bad situation.
So, okay, let's get back to the Illuminati. You said that they are actually today in conflict with each other. So, why is that? What do they want?
Okay. Two reasons. When you have a corporation with a board of directors, and there's only one chairman of the board, once they get to their goal, everybody wants to be the chairman, and they attack each other to become the head. That's one. But the big reason is, and I think maybe I have discussed this with you sometime, that in the Kuiper Belt, around our solar system, there is huge amount of beings that do not like what's happening here. They are not our friends. They are protecting themselves, and they want the Illuminati to go. And so this is a problem. And the Illuminati are a bit frightened and doing stupid things, crazy things, and making mistakes. And this is why Trump is in office. He is a saboteur of Illuminati. And we are seeing this happen in many different situations. I believe that Angela Merkel is also being sabotaged. And
so Angela Merkel is part of the Illuminati?
Yes.
Also the English Prime Minister, May?
Yes.
Also?
Yes.
You know what? The Hungarian TV told that.
They did.
There was a program saying that maybe Angela Merkel is Illuminati, and maybe also May minister also is an Illuminati.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was just stupefied. What? The TV is saying that, actually? Well,
I think that the truth, the resistance will come from Slavic countries and from Latin America. Because Latin American countries, they don't tolerate such things. They don't like such control system.
But there is, anyway.
Yeah,
We
but
can
not
talk
like
about many presidents.
yeah, but not like Europe or North America.
And so you say that Trump is not a puppet of the Illuminati?
No, I think he is a puppet of Fourth Reich.
Oh. Who would be the Fourth Reich?
They are based mostly in Antarctica at the moment, but they are in alliance with those beings in the Kuiper Belt.
Oh.
And this is why we are seeing, again, every day, at least in US news, issues about the Nazis coming. And even in United States, we have Nazi marching in the street, attacking people. I never thought I would see in my lifetime such a thing. But it is here.
So not good at all.
No, not good. And that's why the Europeans are very much against Trump, because he's not one of them. But he's not for people either. You know, he has his own agenda.
So the agenda of the Illuminati is, of course, to create new world order. But what else, or what steps are they to take?
They will create, and already begun, staged alien invasion. So people will become afraid, and then the Illuminati will say that we can defend the earth if everybody accepts this government, the new government, to control the earth, to protect from the aliens. Then they will bring a staged second coming of Christ, so they can create a new world religion. And then they will have global government, one religion, one economy, and they have all under control.
Actually, Orwellian world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But now they face the sabotage from a Kuiper Belt and the Fourth Reich.
So if the Fourth Reich would come, it would be bad also.
Yes, yes. It's like, would you rather have a stroke or a heart attack? Which one you choose? It's right. It's not good either one.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And what can we do to avoid both of them?
So this is why I do my work, to teach people to remove the victimization mind pattern, to release the negative emotions that attract these people. If we only send out unconditional love and peace and so on, they cannot be here. See?
Right.
But people not listening.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. And I am experiencing that also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that also.
People are like this. They don't want to see anything, know anything. It's very sad.
Sadly, yeah. Well, Stewart, that was a last question, but I think we already could answer that. Do they have any extraterrestrial contact? Of course. So the Illuminati, I mean.
Yeah, yeah. And so does the Fourth Reich have such contact as well. Different groups, but yes. Yeah.
The Fourth Reich would have any nationality?
Well, of course, they originally German, yes, but they accept any nationality that supports their work. And quite honestly, and this was shocking to me, but I saw it, that they even accept the Israeli government because they have a common enemy. So I saw this a long time ago in Finland when I was working in Finland. There was a magazine article called Strange Bedfellows. And it was about the Fourth Reich visiting Israeli government to make a deal with them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you notice on the armband of Israeli military police is a black winged dragon.
Oh, yeah.
You can see on the internet even.
So, in one part, there are the Kuiper Belt people behind this, doing the sabotage,
Yes.
maybe. And by the
Yes.
other hand, we have Dracos, Greys.
And Illuminati.
So behind
Yes.
the Illuminati,
Yes.
we have the
And
Greys.
Yes. And in addition, many factions underneath all of it. It's very complicated. It's not just one side and this side. No, many
sides.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And what about those who would support humanity? They are doing nothing.
Where are they? Where are those people? You know, as I mentioned, the good ones don't interfere. They know that every race must find its own way. Otherwise, it will be destroyed. So it's kind of like, sink or swim, like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stewart, this was a very interesting story indeed. Let's see what else in the future. How will humanity will change? And actually, so at least try to, I don't know, to share this knowledge, to share this information, and try to convince people to make their own change. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, thank you to be here again, and for your time and for your dedication also. And maybe we'll see you again very soon.
Hope so.
We'll see.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Fan.
All right. And thank for everybody for listening, for seeing, and we'll see you very soon. Okay? Bye-bye. A big hug.
Bye.